All right. So today I'm going to walk you through the process of the data that we collected. What does really the data tell us, and how can we use this data for future endeavors into education, and of course, the esports world. So the question was, what are the decisive factors for integrating esports content, right, in the undergraduate degree programs? And there was, we used this study at the Hague University, obviously, where we have approximately 25,000 students, right? So we had, right, so the table comes just a little bit for now. So we have the research methods, the analysis, the findings, answering, obviously, the research question at the end, our conclusion, and some future research agenda, which is also very important in order to understand what is next, right? What can we do next to keep this going, to keep the ball rolling? Because we are somewhere, we are getting somewhere, but what is exactly that we're getting to? What's the destination? And I always say at the beginning of the year to my students, it's not about the destination, it's not about the journey. Those are fine. It's about the transformation that occurs throughout that process. And now we're busy with that process. We haven't reached yet our peak, let me say, right? We're not yet on the Mount Olympus. We will get there at some point, but until then, what? So the imperativeness of this study, right, the reasoning, the urgency to do this study are the following. The growing market of esports, right? The importance of remaining relevant from an academic perspective, meaning new students, how do we make sure that we can engage more, that we can engage further with them, that we can motivate them to be part of our educational institute? And of course, to satisfy the desires of those students as well at the same time. Different stakeholders, different perspectives, different desires. What do we do for that? How can we take that into account? What are the next steps? Right? That's very important in this case. Do you guys know this guy? Nobody? Anybody watch the Olympic Games? Long jump? All right. So this is Greek, by the way, right? It sounds ancient and all that. He says, it was an interview and I had to screenshot this, so the quality is not the best. Gaming has helped me 1,000% with my sport. This guy has won the Olympic Games gold medal 2 times in a row, right? 2 times in a row, and he comes publicly stating that gaming has helped me with my sport. Apparently, when he runs, because of gaming, he has developed a skill that he doesn't have to look. He does long jumping, by the way. He doesn't have to look at the ball, so he just jumps without looking at it. And I'm thinking, if gaming can do that for a sport, for an athlete, imagine what it can really do for our society. How far can you use it for cognitive growth, right? We see companies using gamers right now because of their reflexes. I can give you some examples, right? Liquid, cooperating with some companies on that note. We see gamers working on different projects because of those skills that they have developed because of gaming, because of being competitive, because of having to think fast. Engagement, social engagement as well, right? And this just showcases the power of it, the power of gaming, the power of esports, in this case. Why esports and why in education? Right? As an onderzoeker, as a researcher, as a lecturer, I have to make sure that I remain somewhere in the middle. Although I have a passion for esports and gaming, I have a passion for sports, right? I sport a lot. I have a passion for education, and so on and so on and so on. But we have to understand not everything is positive. Not everything is the best, right? So despite negative connotations about it, such as isolation, depression, wasting your time, I agree with those things. Definitely you can have them. Okay, something is happening, by the way. It's okay, no worries. It happens often not to us. Okay, so despite all these negative annotations that we can see happening, we have data that is actually happening, all right? Let's be fair. We need to understand that there are also skills, right? Suggested, we have just put some literature over there so I can have my arguments a little bit more supported. Video games are associated with cognitive, motivational, social, and health benefits. And I think some of you can also be, if I ask you, do you agree with these statements? Do you think this statement is true? Can we use video games to actually, support with cognitive, motivational, social, behaviors? What do you think? Can we use it? Yeah? Do you agree with that statement, or is it maybe yes, maybe not? And I'm sure the hardcore people who are into gaming, no? Do you think we cannot?
Maybe yes, maybe not.
I like that. And I'm going to, that's okay. That's good, because a lot of people think maybe yes, maybe not, right? And I'm going to come back to that in a bit later, because we have the data, when asking students about this. But the most important thing for me, and I highlight this in red, is information. How can we ensure that parents are involved in this process? How can we ensure that the breach that exists between, video games and education, we can shorten that and eliminate it, that parents are actually aware of what's happening, so they don't complain, oh, my kid is playing too many hours. Well, if we consider esports and gaming top-level athletes, I don't know anybody who is playing for a top team that trains 10 hours a day. They do train 2 hours, 3 hours, and then they go back home, rehabilitate, they eat, they sleep, they go back to training probably. So why not act or have the same results on esports as well? Why complain? Why do we allow that negative process to keep continuing? Because we don't have the expertise, the knowledge that is required. So that's what we should be thriving for. That's what we should be aiming for in the future, right? To bridge that gap and make sure that the stakeholders, who are, in my opinion, parents, the primary stakeholders in this case, they should be aware of what's happening. What is the situation? Where are we going? What does the industry mean? How can we support these kids who are aspiring to become the next Lionel Messi on esports, right? How? By providing them knowledge. Knowledge that we as experts, we as educators, need to accumulate, okay? So we used qualitative and quantitative research. Just quickly, we did some student surveys. Approximately 203, 204 students participated within TUAS. Experts questionnaires, so we asked some lecturers, some curriculum developers within TUAS, what do they think, how can we proceed? And also a recruiter's review, right? So we have a recruiter who goes out there and tries to recruit students for our institution. And then we had themes such as awareness and familiarity, benefits and alignment, challenges and resources, and then implementation of esports integration. Those are the 4 themes that we focused on during that process of collecting the data and writing this paper. I put this just to give you a little bit of a perspective, because this data is a bit older, right? So we know esports move so fast, technology moves so fast, so anything 2, 3, 4 years ago is old, right? But is it really old? If we look at the numbers right now, and we look at the numbers from 2022, and we look at the numbers right now, something commonly happening with esports is everything is about a prognosis. We have Americanized our way of thinking and conducting business. We make everything big. We try to oversell ourselves, right? But what is really happening in the industry? To me, this is good. Okay, I don't really care. What I care about is this. The ecosystem. Because this is what my students can benefit from. But if you look at this, where is really the money? So if I tell them, oh, by the way, you can have a great career in esports, where do I really send them? They're not going to be all players. They're not going to be all, game developers. Some of them are event organizers. Some, there will be IT support. Some, there will be streamers, journalists, and so on. But I don't think, and data shows us, that not all of these people make the same amount of money. Some of them are even struggling to make a living, although they're so passionate about it. But why do they keep working in it? Right? And how can we make sure that we educate them so when they enter that grand industry, they are prepared for it? So they can help organizations to grow and not just try to gain knowledge from the existing organizations, which are already, by the way, there for a few years now, trying to get to the next level, meaning they need the next expertise to take them to that level, right? Which is very important. Some findings, and going back to maybe yes, maybe no. When asked, should esports content be implemented? And I'm not talking about implementing, building a new curriculum as let's build a program called esports and give a bachelor's degree in it, 3 years. No. That's not what I believe in. That's not what I want to do with it. And that's not what we are trying to do with it. When asked about this, 61% said, yes, to some extent. 25% they said, yes, definitely. And then we had 14, not at all. And this already tells us that people are not really, they're not really trusting the industry, let me put it that way. They're not convinced that there is a job for them, that there's an opportunity that the industry can provide, right? And some other findings. When it comes to benefits, right? Providing students with hands-on experience in the growing industry. 70.9% agree with that statement. Could we enhance students' critical thinking and problem? 36.5% agree with that statement. So, someone this morning said our new generation is becoming more critical, right? How can we avoid all these fake news and everything, the data that's happening, all the opportunities and possibilities that we have? Well, by becoming more critical, by understanding what's fake and what's not, right? And I think our new generation, also I'm saying it in front of my class, they are more challenging, they are more critical because of the fact that they have all this information available. So I'd rather have a lot of information where I can choose what's good for me and what's not, and what's true and what's not, than have nothing in this case. And that's what we try to do it all the time. Research, publish, so we can give and provide information out there, so we can make our students smarter and more engaged, right? And create their own opinions, have their own meanings in this turbulent industry that we know of, esports. Right. When it comes to how should it be integrated, offering esports-related courses of modules, 57% agree to that statement. And this is exactly what we want to do. Say you are following an IB course. Why not have the opportunity within your IB course to have a section where it's all about gaming, esports, and the industry? Right? Say you do event management. Why do we have to stick to that traditional teaching methods and not try to modernize ourselves so we can fit the needs of this new generation? Right? So we can be competing with universities in the States, in Korea, in Japan, in England, and all these huge markets around the world. Right? When you think about the Dutch market, it's between 18 and 22nd in the world right now when it comes to esports. Taking into consideration the teams, the revenue, sponsors, involvement, and so on and so on. We are way far behind. So the ecosystem needs to be experiencing a build-up, starting from, of course, the education. And that's where we have a hands-on experience. That's what we can use. Or that's what we think that we have, right? I'm not going through all the data because this presentation is also going to be online, also, so you can also read it yourself. But what's important to understand when it comes to challenging of this, right, to challenges on implementing the esports content, is the qualification of instructors. This morning I saw 200 people, maybe 150, and I was thinking, is this esports in the Netherlands? I don't know. You know, I was thinking, this is it? That's all the people in the Netherlands that are actually dealing with esports? 150 people? I don't know. I know that there's 150,000 people in the Netherlands that work in sports, and they make a living out of it. Then there's probably more than 1 million volunteers on a weekly basis, right? And there's 22,000 clubs available, which, by the way, we had in the last 4 or 5 years, 24 to 26, and then we keep losing them. There's something there that needs to be done. And if we can use esports to maybe, right, create a more engaging environment for all this newer generation, and I'm not talking about 14 and plus, because they probably know what they want. I'm talking about the ones who are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, who love gaming. But how can we make that more, applicable to them, and also gap, again, the bridge between the parents and this whole process through education, through providing experience and professionals who can actually do these implementations. That's what we need. Just the red ones, because my time, I think, is running off, and that's the problem with lecturers. We like to talk. Okay? We really love to talk. Opportunities, new jobs, strong link with the working environment. Absolutely. The content, rates, programs to invest, the flexibility, and obviously the bureaucracy when it comes to challenges and resources. There's no money in education. We've all been experiencing that for the last couple of months. It's been turbulent. People are losing their jobs. So how can we even go out there and say, by the way, can we implement esports? Come on, that's something good. I don't know, especially when people who are 60 plus and have no idea are leading organizations. I'm sorry, it's very difficult to, convince them. Very, very difficult. And then implementation of business integration should not be seen as the enemy, because it's not the enemy. It's an opportunity to come together, to come closer with each other. And of course, it's an investment. But be up to date, invite experts, get advice from the work field, conduct research, and expand knowledge on the field. This is exactly what we try to do as applied sciences. That co-creation of the field and, the university. And answering this, what we need is the level of expertise within the university, the financial obligations and available budget, the interest from current students and potential students, which is very important in order to proceed with this process, the identification of the study programs, not one size fits all. We can't go for all. We have to be picky in that sense, right? Where do we go from there? Which programs should we invest at? And then the involvement and the social aspects of it, right? I'm a social researcher. That's what I like to see. I like to see the social impact of it. That's what I keep researching right now as well on the events sites. But the most important thing is this can help us gap the bridge, not only with the parents, but also the industry. And last but not least, this is what we should be doing next. Investigating the impact of esports on education. Once we have implemented that, we have to see what's the impact of it. There are similar studies done, obviously, and there are more on the agenda, but that's for later. Thank you.